never seen.
Yo, what's up guys? Bill here, Classic Rock and Metal Review. Time for a new segment. Here we go. Viewer suggestions. This one goes back to almost a year ago. The channel wasn't even that old. And somebody had suggested that I review a Judas Priest show, Chicago 1981. So I had this as a download for years, and then after that suggestion, I went and got this from Japan. Definitive Chicago 1981, Judas Priest. Damn good show. I'm not really sure they've ever done anything but we'll take a close look at this. I'll give you a review of it. Like I said, I've heard it a few times in the last week or so. At the end, we'll take a good close look at the packaging. The packaging is really, I think, a step up on this one, actually. And there are a lot of these bootlegs pretty similar vein. This one, I think, just a little extra nice. We'll do that at the end. Guys can like or subscribe. This is what we do, man. Classic rock and metal, just like the channel is called, obviously. But we're not just buying shit off Amazon. This is stuff from Japan. You got to be a real collector. You guys know what's up. Like or subscribe. That would be great. So, Judas Priest, all right, 1980, coming off of British Steel. Heavy as ever, in my opinion. Great album. Hellbent for Leather was a great album. You had the live album in between those two. 1981, maybe take a little bit of a turn towards the more commercial. Songs are a little more palatable, I guess. They're probably not that catchy, though. I don't think they had any breakthrough hits. Several singles. I can tell you, personally, I owned all their albums by the time I was 14 or 15 at the latest, except for Point of Entry. And I have nothing against it. I actually really like the record. It's just lacking a little something, I think, overall. It really is. I have to say that. Not that it's bad. I think it's really good. It is a little more, I think, commercially viable, which is probably what they were going for at the time. All right, that being said, they still have a whole catalog of killer metal under their belts, and the tour takes them to Chicago on, I don't want to give you the wrong date, so I'm double checking, May 8th, just like I thought, 1981. They're at the Universal Amphitheatre, Chicago, Illinois. Now the viewer that I'm pretty sure, the viewer that suggested this to me or asked me to review it, said that he taped it off the radio and grew up listening to it and just has a sort of personal connection to it in that way. Sometimes that's just how it goes, man. We tape something off the radio, and back especially when we're like teens, and it's not like you have an extra $50 a week to go buy records. So things like that were precious. It's a stereo soundboard recording. It doesn't say anywhere on here, I don't think Halford says, this is being broadcast or any of that stuff. I don't think. But, it's probably the recorded for radio source, I'm sure. And I can't verify that, but it is stereo soundboard. It does have a real full sound, typical of, radio broadcast sound. I would give the sound on this thing about like an 8.2, really solid, really no complaints. Overall, really good sound. Everything's pretty clearly heard. If there's any deficiencies in it, the show, might be a little of the playing's a little off time here and there. Not that much. Overall, another great show. A little guitar heavy on the sound. Drums, decent, but as usual, Ian Hill is buried. You can hear him, not a lot of oomph on his bass, just a steady, basic sound. So it could use a little more bottom end would be the one criticism of the sound. One thing I will say about this performance that stands out to me, because I think Holland on drums was a pretty plain, regular, just keep the beat player. Does his rolls, very consistent and all that. But it doesn't sound like he ever really tries to go out on a limb. That's my general opinion of him. Here, he does. I mean, there are some inspired drum rolls in here, mixed in. I mean, maybe you got to listen a little, but not really that hard. I hear Dave Holland's best drumming I think I've ever heard on this one. Not that that's like saying a lot, but he is solid on here. And it's really kind of refreshing. It just goes to show you that, every little piece of a band can make a difference. Lively rolls. He sounds into it, basically. Another thing that stands out about this overall recording, there's really good like venue ambiance on this recording. Pretty typical of like, your King Biscuits and stuff. So another, clue to the fact that it's probably, the broadcast source that our reviewer who suggested this is talking about, that it's probably from that source. Audience is well heard between the songs. They're heard somewhat at high points during the songs, but you really get like this hall echo going on, where you really get a feel like you're in the crowd, like during the show. Just this overall echo too, not something that was just put on Rob's voice or something. But it's really cool. It really makes you feel, and there's some reviewers out there who are really big on that. They want to feel like they're in the show by hearing the audience and things like that. I don't necessarily need all that, but it is kind of nice when all things come together. Good overall sound and the ambiance of a hall and being truly live. So that all being said, let's get to the set list. Solar Angels to start it off. This may or may not have been the opener for the whole tour. I have a couple other bootlegs from this tour. Got July 81, Palladium, New York, and also London, I think it is, Hammersmith. November, Solar Angels, looks like it was the opener at both, but it just says Solar Angels intro for the Hammersmith show. I'm not sure if it was faded out or it was just that sort of, mechanized sound they had going on that introduced the song Solar Angels. Nevertheless, Solar Angels full version here, cool. It's not, like I said about Point of Entry, the songs aren't fantastic, but they're surely not bad either. So opener is from, Point of Entry. Heading Out to the Highway, another great song. Now, this is one that stuck around and for good reason. Heading Out to the Highway. Diamonds and Rust, still hanging in there at this point. I was a little kind of surprised at that. Troubleshooter off of Point of Entry once again. And again, I think it's kind of like Solar Angels, real good song, not fantastic. Breaking the Law, this is where I think the overall energy of the show, the band themselves, kind of picks up. How I feel. I feel about Breaking the Law the way I feel about, any other big hit by any band. It's kind of overplayed a little bit at this point. Usually it's a closer later on for the band, but here we go. It's like dead set, beginning / middle of the set. And the overall energy of everything just picks up here. So this is actually a really cool version and things just pick up. Then they go in the center. It's about an 8-minute version. It's good. Sinner took me until more recently to actually really get into. I thought it was kind of a boring song for Priest. Yet they kept it around for a long time. So here it is still. Good, solid version like usual. Beyond the Realms of Death, this is really good, and I don't think I've ever heard a bad version of this. Killer. Grinders, solid. Hot Rockin' is a song that I really love. Probably my favorite song on Point of Entry. Sounds great. You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise sounds really good. The crowd does like a sing-along thing for a minute or two during this one, which I never really found this to be a super popular song from that album by listening to the album, but it always got played at the show, up until this point at least, right? Crowd sing-along thing. Victim of Changes, this is a really good tight version. They're still doing great versions. Halford sounds awesome here still. Green Manalishi, this is something I didn't really know about this song or pay much attention to it until they did it at Live Aid in '85. Then it caught my eye. So you're probably never going to hear me say there's a bad version of Green Manalishi. Another solid version here. Hellbent for Leather and Living After Midnight are your closers, typical for most of the tour, unless they came out and did like an encore. They sound strong. Overall, really good show. You also do get on this CD a couple of bonus tracks. Apparently was a promo single, 12-inch single of Troubleshooter on one side, Hot Rockin' on the other. Basically, these bonus tracks are needle drops from the vinyl. So overall, there you go. It's 79.5 minutes of Priest. You get the whole Chicago show, the couple of bonus tracks, single CD, really good show. I have to be honest, I had this downloaded probably 6 or 8 years ago and listened to it once or twice then. Listened to this once last spring when I first got it. Although I got it amongst so much other stuff, it got one play and got put on the shelf. I'm going to pay more attention to this now. Point of Entry is a good album. a little underrated in a way, in that it's sort of ignored somewhat. But it is good, if not fantastic. And, you know, it's definitely the least I've ever played it since I didn't own it up until a few years ago. And this is a good show with 4 songs from it. Now, it looks like later on in the tour, Troubleshooter gets replaced with Desert Plains. Now, Desert Plains, of course, has hung around forever too, just like Sinner. Although I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think either of those songs are fantastic. All right, some packaging, man. This is a pretty nice deal. We got Zodiac label. As you can see, there's the back cover once again. Your front cover, I've already showed you. So let's flip it around. If you're inside the CD now, you get this inside of the booklet. And that's what I mean about nice. It's not just a tray card. This is an actual booklet. So it might only be, what is it, 2 pages, 4 pages, however you want to count it. But at least you get something, man. It stays in that jewel case nicely because of having more than just a little card in there. And of course you get the cool age-appropriate, era-appropriate, you know, picture of the band, which is just, you know, I know this isn't a big deal to a lot of you, but if you're collectors like me, this stuff doesn't matter. These tray cards are constantly falling the hell out. This one also happened to come with a numbered sticker. I think that says, you know, I can't see, man, and these numbers are blurry. Whatever that says, that's the number of the one I got. Just cool to have a hookup from Japan who gives me these, and he has them slapped right on the jewel case itself when I get it. It's great until you break the jewel case, and then it's trash. Then your sticker's gone. So I kind of appreciate them coming like this, except for the fact that when I slip it behind the front cover, the damn thing ends up sliding all the way to the back, and when I close the CD, I crush that sticker all the time. So with the 4-page front booklet, it holds it in there. Tray card, it's always getting smashed. Here's what I mean about awesome packaging. CD, there it is. That's how it looks in the jewel case. You pop the CD out, you got the same picture behind it. That's just really cool, so that when you put the CD in there, it all just matches with the cover behind it. But what else is really cool about it is that when you pop the CD out, I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to catch this, but the title, Definitive Chicago 81 and Universal Amphitheatre, are kind of like written in like silver. They almost look like steel. And when you get them in the light the right way, you get that like rainbow effect or holographic effect. Just cool stuff. This is nice, really nice package. I think it ran about 22 bucks, something like that. And I've already showed the back cover a bunch of times. That'll do it for Judas Priest Definitive Blitz? No, sorry, Definitive Chicago 1981. Great one. Point of Entry tour. What's cool about it is, you know, beyond this tour, most of these songs were getting dropped. Desert Plains hung around a little while. I kind of think that's about it. Or heading out to the highway, of course. But, you know, between this CD and later CDs from the tour, 3 other songs that would eventually probably basically not see the light of day again for a while. Or rarely, I mean. All right, guys, that'll do it for now. If you guys are into bootleg talk and just generally cool classic rock and metal talk, like and subscribe. Why the hell not? I appreciate everyone. Catch you later.